with a campaign promise by candidate Trump, but they're also likely to raise costs for American consumers and raising fears about further inflation and retaliation, with Canada and the EU already warning they may respond in kind. And the president says there's more to come.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
With the stroke of his pen Monday night, President Trump raising tariffs on U.S. allies and adversaries alike, imposing new duties on steel and aluminum imports.
It's 25% without exceptions or exemptions, and that's all countries.
Canada is one of America's biggest suppliers of both metals. Its prime minister calling the tariffs unacceptable.
Imports of Canadian steel and aluminum create thousands, if not millions, of jobs and support families across the United States.
Trump's move would benefit American producers of steel and aluminum, but could also lead to higher prices. Those metals are used in everything from food packaging like soda cans to car manufacturing. The president suggesting there may be more to come.
We will be looking at chips, and we will be looking at cars, and we're going to be looking at pharmaceuticals.
And in an interview recorded this weekend, shrugging off cost concerns.
You're not worried that any of that's going to go back to the consumer?
It might, but it's ultimately going to be much less expensive.
Trump also facing legal hurdles for some of his domestic priorities. A federal judge admonishing the White House for failing to comply with an order to release billions of dollars in frozen grant funds and ordering the administration to do so. And the deadline for that buyout offer for federal workers still on hold after another judge extended it. The president reacting to recent judicial roadblocks in a radio interview.
Well, you get some very bad rulings, and it's a shame to see it.
And Vice President J.D. Vance is among the administration officials signaling a potential showdown with the courts, writing over the weekend that judges can't control the president's power. Trump discussing Vance's role in the Republican Party in his weekend sit-down.
Do you view Vice President J.D. Vance as your successor, the Republican nominee in 2028?
No, but he's very capable. I mean, I don't think that I think you have a lot of very capable people. So far, I think he's doing a fantastic job. It's too early.
Now, today is also a big day for the president at the far end of Pennsylvania Avenue, where the Senate is expected to vote later today or possibly overnight on whether to confirm former Democrat Tulsi Gabbard be the Director of National Intelligence. After that, they'll take up RFK Jr.'s nomination to be the Health Secretary later in the week. Two big nominations expected to have very, very tight margins for confirmation. Savannah?
All right, we'll be watching, Garrett. Thank you. Want to turn more to those legal rulings. We've got Laura Jarrett here, our senior legal correspondent. So let's talk about, the Trump administration may not like these legal rulings. They can certainly fight them in court. There's a lot of avenues to do that. They can't ignore them. What happens if they do?
Well, it's an open question how a judge might enforce a contempt order in that case. The judge in Rhode Island basically giving them a warning saying, I meant what I said when I told you to release those federal funds. Please follow my order. But the judge didn't mention what would happen if they don't do it anymore. And we should mention, while the president and the vice president are saying things like the courts don't have the authority, DOJ lawyers are not in court saying anything like that. They're saying, oh, our bad. We didn't realize the scope of the order. So there's a little bit of a space there between what's happening in practice and what's happening in action.
Another major headline overnight a lot of people will learn about over the course of this day is that Trump's Justice Department is now demanding that federal prosecutors drop their case against New York City's mayor, Eric Adams here. This is clearly a very unusual intervention in a high-profile public corruption case. How are they explaining this move?
Yeah, we should, of course, mention the mayor pled not guilty. He had maintained his innocence. It was on corruption charges, essentially selling his office for foreign government, for foreign goods. They're explaining it by saying this is a distraction because even though they indicted him last September, he's set to go to trial this coming spring, and he's set to be reelected or have a reelection this coming fall. And so they're saying it's a distraction, and it's taking away from his efforts on immigration, obviously raising a lot of questions. He went down to Mar-a-Lago. He met with the president. It'll be interesting to see how the judge treats this one in court because the judge is going to have to sign off on this.
But even the administration's not saying they've looked at the merits and said, oh, he's innocent. They're saying we didn't look at it. It's too close to the election.
Explicitly did not look at the merits and saying career prosecutors didn't do anything wrong here, but there's too many questions, so we're ordering them to drop the case.
We'll keep you posted. Laura, thank you.
Appreciate it. Also this morning, we're learning more about a fatal plane collision. This happened in Arizona at an airport in Scottsdale. It involved two private jets. An investigation is now underway.